Imagine a world where the underdog no longer plays defense, but rewrites the rules of the game, where a nation once seen as a follower suddenly becomes the example others study to understand the future of warfare. That world exists today, and that nation is Pakistan. In 2025, its jet strategy has not only altered the balance of power in South Asia, but has sent tremors through the very foundations of global defense thinking. What we are witnessing is not just the modernization of an air force, it is the rise of a new philosophy of military innovation, one that is forcing even the most powerful nations to stop, watch, and rethink everything they once believed about dominance in the skies. Pakistan's leapfrogging to advanced platforms marks one of the most significant shifts in its modern military history. For decades, the country's air power was defined by a mix of legacy systems and gradual upgrades that helped it maintain regional parity but rarely offered a strategic edge. However, by 2025, that narrative is changing as Pakistan looks to integrate fifth-generation stealth aircraft into its arsenal. The reported discussions surrounding the acquisition of Chinese J-35A stealth fighters have drawn global attention because they represent not just a procurement decision but a complete transformation in how Pakistan envisions air dominance. These aircraft, equipped with low radar visibility, advanced avionics, and enhanced range, are redefining how middle-tier powers approach modern warfare. Such a move narrows the gap between Western and non-Western air capabilities and challenges long-held assumptions that only the wealthiest nations can afford cutting-edge stealth technology. The leap to stealth platforms also signals Pakistan's strategic intent to move beyond traditional deterrence and adopt a proactive, technologically adaptive posture. By focusing on next-generation aircraft, Pakistan isn't merely keeping pace with regional threats, it's setting a new standard for cost-efficient modernization. This step has triggered extensive debate among defense experts, especially in the West, where the idea that advanced technology could be so rapidly transferred to a developing country unsettles conventional security frameworks. The presence of stealth jets in South Asia could alter how air patrols, early warning systems, and engagement doctrines are structured. Nations that once relied on technological superiority to maintain dominance are now compelled to reassess their defensive grids and radar networks to detect and counter low observable threats. Furthermore, this transition reflects an important psychological dimension of power. It projects confidence, autonomy, and ambition on the global stage. Pakistan's choice to diversify its aviation sources and invest heavily in stealth technology sends a clear message that it intends to shape rather than follow the trajectory of regional military development. It's not merely about buying aircraft, it's about entering a new era of warfare where data fusion, electronic warfare, and stealth integration become central to strategy. In essence, Pakistan's leap to advanced platforms symbolizes a turning point where emerging powers are no longer content with catching up. They're beginning to redefine what catching up even means. Pakistan's deepening defense ties with China represent more than just a military partnership. They signify a strategic realignment that is reshaping the global defense landscape. Over the past decade, Pakistan has steadily diversified its sources of military technology, moving away from traditional Western suppliers and embracing a model that prioritizes autonomy, cost-effectiveness, and political alignment. The collaboration between Pakistan and China in areas such as fighter jets, missile systems, and radar technology has matured into a robust ecosystem of joint research, production, and field deployment. This shift has become even more pronounced as Western nations impose stricter export regulations and attach political conditions to defense sales. In contrast, China's approach offers Pakistan access to advanced systems with fewer restrictions, creating a foundation for rapid modernization. The JF-17 Thunder program, which began as a joint venture, has evolved into a symbol of this cooperation, demonstrating how both nations can develop combat-ready aircraft suited to modern warfare without depending on Western technology. By 2025, the relationship has advanced to include discussions around integrating fifth-generation capabilities, such as the J-10C and potentially the J-35 stealth fighters, into Pakistan's fleet. These aircraft not only enhance Pakistan's air defense, but also serve as testaments to China's growing role as an alternative global arms supplier. Western analysts have taken note of this trend, recognizing that the increasing interoperability between Pakistani and Chinese systems could challenge long-standing US and NATO assumptions about technological superiority. Moreover, this partnership extends beyond equipment acquisition. It includes joint training exercises, maintenance agreements, and the exchange of tactical data. Such collaboration allows Pakistan to optimize its combat readiness while benefiting from Chinese advancements in artificial intelligence-driven targeting, electronic warfare, and drone integration. On a geopolitical level, these defense ties carry significant implications. They reinforce Pakistan's strategic position within China's Belt and Road framework and create a security umbrella that extends across South and Central Asia. This growing interdependence also introduces a psychological shift. Pakistan's defense posture is no longer reactionary or dependent, but assertive and self-reliant. For Western defense planners, this evolution poses a dilemma. The realization that alliances once defined by dependency are now producing states capable of independent modernization. Pakistan's partnership with China has thus become a case study in how new defense ecosystems can rise outside the traditional Western orbit, forcing global powers to rethink where influence and innovation in military technology will truly come from in the years ahead. Pakistan's growing defense budget and its reallocation of national resources toward aviation modernization underscore the country's commitment to redefining its military posture. In 2025, despite global economic challenges and domestic fiscal pressures, Pakistan increased its defense budget by nearly 20%, a decision that immediately drew global attention. Such a move signals more than just a financial adjustment. It reflects a strategic mindset that prioritizes security innovation and air power superiority as essential to national survival and influence. This significant budgetary shift highlights Pakistan's determination to invest in its Air Force modernization program, particularly in areas like stealth technology, drone warfare, and electronic combat capabilities. Analysts have noted that this increase does not exist in isolation. It is part of a long-term restructuring plan aimed at transforming the Pakistan Air Force from a traditional defense-oriented force into a technologically agile and globally competitive unit capable of preemptive and sustained operations. The allocation of additional funds also speaks to Pakistan's recognition of modern warfare's changing dynamics. Air dominance is no longer defined solely by the number of aircraft, but by how effectively those aircraft integrate with advanced sensors, artificial intelligence, and data-driven combat systems. By focusing its budget on upgrading radar networks, integrating real-time surveillance systems, and training pilots for next-generation combat, Pakistan is laying the groundwork for strategic deterrence that goes beyond conventional capability. This calculated investment is not just about matching regional rivals like India, but about building a credible deterrent that extends influence across multiple domains: air, cyber, and space. The decision to channel more funds into research and development, maintenance of advanced platforms, and procurement of multi-role aircraft underlines an evolving doctrine where technological sophistication becomes the cornerstone of national defense strategy. Globally, defense experts view Pakistan's budget increase as part of a wider trend where mid-tier powers are challenging the monopoly of traditional defense giants through smarter spending. Instead of buying large quantities of outdated platforms, Pakistan is selectively acquiring systems that provide maximum strategic leverage at lower long-term costs. This approach mirrors modern hybrid warfare doctrines, where intelligence, agility, and innovation outweigh mere volume. Western institutions monitoring South Asia's defense economics have noted that Pakistan's fiscal commitment to air power may push neighboring countries to reassess their spending priorities, triggering an arms race driven by technological advancement rather than sheer numbers. Pakistan's defense budget growth in 2025 therefore represents not just a financial choice, but a bold statement of strategic intent, a declaration that the future of warfare will belong to those who innovate, not just those who spend. The regional strategic balance in South Asia is undergoing a visible transformation as Pakistan's rapid modernization of its air force begins to disrupt long-standing assumptions about military superiority. For decades, India has enjoyed a clear edge in terms of both quantity and diversity of combat aircraft, supported by Western and Russian suppliers. However, the introduction of advanced Chinese-built platforms into Pakistan's fleet, combined with homegrown innovations like the upgraded JF-17 Block 3, has narrowed that gap significantly. This development is not only changing the operational calculus in the subcontinent, but also forcing neighboring powers and global defense observers to reassess how regional deterrence functions in the 21st century. The inclusion of advanced avionics, electronic warfare systems, and precision-guided munitions within Pakistan's fleet has given it new flexibility in both defensive and offensive posturing. Where once Pakistan's air strategy was largely reactive, it is now evolving toward proactive deterrence, designed to ensure control of regional airspace under complex conflict scenarios. This shift is particularly significant because it introduces a level of unpredictability that alters regional stability equations. India's long-held dominance in the skies is now being questioned, prompting urgent discussions in New Delhi about accelerating its own stealth programs and expanding strategic partnerships with the West. The dynamics are further complicated by Pakistan's growing integration of unmanned aerial systems and advanced surveillance capabilities, which add layers of hybrid warfare potential. By blending conventional and asymmetric capabilities, Pakistan is reshaping what regional competition looks like in both wartime and peacetime. The strategic message is clear. Pakistan's defense strategy is no longer about maintaining balance, but about shifting the balance to its advantage through innovation, precision, and adaptability. Internationally, this transformation is sparking interest among defense analysts who see South Asia as a live laboratory for studying how emerging powers use technology to offset conventional disadvantages. Western and NATO planners are quietly acknowledging that Pakistan's air evolution has global implications, as it demonstrates that even nations with limited budgets can alter regional dynamics by investing smartly in next-generation warfare systems. The broader outcome is a cascading effect across Asia, with countries like Iran, Indonesia, and Turkey closely watching Pakistan's approach as a model for affordable modernization. The result is a new era of competitive parity in the region, where military dominance is no longer determined by legacy fleets, but by the speed of technological adaptation and strategic innovation. Pakistan's modernization drive has therefore not only challenged India's traditional edge, but has also reshaped how regional and global powers view the strategic weight of the South Asian theater in future defense planning. Pakistan's evolving role in the global arms market and its growing influence as both a consumer and potential exporter of military technology have become defining features of the new defense order. The country's procurement strategy, particularly its emphasis on cost-effective yet highly capable aircraft like the JF-17 Thunder, has challenged the long-standing Western monopoly on military aviation exports. By focusing on partnerships with China and other non-Western defense suppliers, Pakistan has helped create an alternative model of arms trade that prioritizes accessibility, affordability, and adaptability over prestige and brand legacy. This shift is significant because it democratizes the global defense market, allowing developing nations to acquire advanced air combat systems that were once financially or politically out of reach. The JF-17 program, developed jointly with China, stands as a prime example of how a mid-tier nation can transform itself from a passive buyer to an active participant in global defense production. Its export success to countries like Myanmar and Nigeria illustrates that Pakistan's defense industry has begun to carve out a competitive niche among emerging military powers. Beyond exports, Pakistan's modernization efforts have rippled through international defense circles, compelling global arms manufacturers to rethink pricing structures and production strategies. Western defense companies, accustomed to multi-billion-dollar contracts with established clients, are now being forced to confront the reality that nations are seeking more affordable yet advanced alternatives. The combination of Chinese technological input and Pakistan's operational experience has produced aircraft that deliver impressive capability at a fraction of the cost of Western systems. This cost-performance balance has started to redefine how nations perceive air superiority, suggesting that innovation and efficiency may outweigh exclusivity and expense. As a result, countries with limited defense budgets are now exploring the feasibility of adopting Pakistan's model, building local capacity through partnerships rather than relying solely on imported systems. Moreover, this emerging trend poses a subtle but powerful challenge to global military hierarchies. If Pakistan can demonstrate that modern air power can be achieved without total dependence on Western suppliers, it encourages other nations to diversify their procurement strategies, diluting the strategic leverage traditionally enjoyed by major arms exporters. This is especially significant at a time when geopolitical alliances are shifting and countries are seeking greater independence in defense planning. Pakistan's strategic success in transforming its air force through pragmatic collaboration and intelligent investment has thus transcended regional boundaries, influencing how the world perceives balance, innovation, and accessibility in modern warfare. Its example signals that the future of air dominance will not necessarily belong to those who spend the most, but to those who innovate the fastest and adapt the smartest. As we stand in the midst of this global defense realignment, one truth becomes undeniable. Pakistan has changed the conversation. Its air strategy is no longer a regional footnote. It has become a blueprint for strategic reinvention. By embracing innovation over imitation, partnerships over dependency, and precision over excess, Pakistan has positioned itself as a case study in how determination and intelligence can rival wealth and legacy. The Western defense establishment, once confident in its monopoly over advanced warfare technology, now faces an uncomfortable reality that mastery of the skies is no longer guaranteed by money alone. The rules of the game have shifted, and Pakistan's jet strategy is one of the catalysts behind that shift. What began as an effort to strengthen national defense has evolved into a global lesson in adaptability, resilience, and foresight. The message is clear. The future of power will not belong to those who simply have the most. It will belong to those who know how to make the most of what they have. Pakistan's transformation is proof of that future, and the world can no longer afford to ignore it.